Welcome once again to the Next Gen Guide to English Grammar. This lesson is about the future simple tense in English, or how we talk about the future using will or going to. These two terms can be very similar in meaning at times, but there is a difference between them which is important to know. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand and explain the parts of a future simple sentence. You should also be able to understand and explain how to make negative statements, as well as how to ask and answer future simple questions. Will you remember everything? We use the future simple to talk about a specific point in time in the future. Whether we're talking about an intention, a plan, or a prediction, we usually refer to a specific point in time. For example, I'll be back. Here, the person speaking is letting others know that at a certain time in the future, he or she will come back. Another example is, I'm going to be back at 9 o'clock. In this example, the speaker is letting others know when they are going to return as well. It's a very similar idea to the first example, but there is a difference between them. So, what is the difference? Well, in the first example, the speaker uses will. We usually use will to talk about the future without a plan. So we can use I'll be back if we just decide to leave without having planned to do so before. As for I'm going to be back at 9 o'clock, then this is what a person who had a definite plan or schedule would say about where they intend to be in the future and at what specific time. So the main difference between will and going to is that we usually use will to talk about future actions without a plan, and we usually use going to talk about future actions that there is a plan for. Now, this isn't always the case 100% of the time. And there are certainly some instances, such as when making predictions, where using will or going to makes no difference whatsoever to the meaning of what's being said. However, it is a rule that generally applies when using the future simple. If we use the example, I'm going to have an operation next week, then it's clear that the person speaking has had the operation planned for some time, and that the doctors are expecting to meet them at a specific time and place. But if we change it to, I'll have an operation next week, then the meaning becomes quite strange, because a person doesn't just decide to have an operation whenever they feel like it. The structure for future simple sentences with will is subject, will, verb 1. For example, I'll have a cup of tea, thanks. The structure for future simple sentences with going to is subject, be, going to, verb 1. For example, we're going to stay in a hotel in Sydney. For negative statements with will, we change will to either will not or use the contraction won't. For example, I won't be late, or you won't like it. For negative going to statements, we just add not before going to. For example, I'm not going to the gym tonight, or they aren't going to stay overnight. The structure for questions with will is will, subject, verb 1. For example, will you come with me? Short answers are yes or no, subject, will or won't. For example, yes, I will, or no, we won't. For questions with going to, the structure is be, subject, going to, verb 1. For example, is the match going to start at 3 o'clock? Short answers have the usual structure for questions with be, such as yes, we are, or no, it isn't.